Sellers become targets. When that sign goes in the yard, when that place goes up for sale on the internet, when the print publications come out, sellers become targets. That's a topic of today's conversation. Um, these are real life experiences that we deal with every year, and they don't go away. But I come across an email back from 2026. Uh, this year happens to be 2023. Uh, it's the end of October right now, and I'm doing this video for you. But 2016, I'd saved an email from an experience that I had with a seller, and I think I probably, looking back, maybe I saved it for a meeting with you here, um, to be able to share with you. When you're a seller, you gotta be paying attention. And I try to have these conversations with our sellers when we're getting the ball rolling, and having these consultations up front, even before we get to a point where we put a sign out, or take a key from you, or your passcode to get in the door. Have our lock boxes sitting out there, whatever. Um, but I'm human. I sometimes forget to have this conversation with sellers, and that email kind of reminded me of that experience, and I think it fits right in with our series here that I'm working really hard to get done for you about scams and schemes and fraudulent activity out there in the world that we got as real estate professionals. We got to be aware of every day. We can't be caught sitting on our heels with any of this, and this is where real professionals start to stand apart from everybody else. Is serious conversations like this. Um, so anyway, what do I mean by sellers are targets? Um, Real life story. I put a property up for sale, and it was in city limits, and I think properties within city limits are likely to get targeted more than those out in the country. Just because if you're out in the country, you can see somebody driving in the driveway, or you can get a good visual on somebody before uh, they actually get to door knocking. Whereas in town, somebody can get away from you pretty quick, and they can turn a corner around the block, and boom, they're gone. Like, you may not even remember what color vehicle they're driving. But so anyway, this story happened to take place within city limits, and I remember it clear as day. Up until this point, I was like the common real estate agent. I didn't have this conversation with sellers, and I should have been. Uh, so it was a very bad. It was it was definitely an awakening for me, and very bad on my part up until that point in my career. And so anyway, it went like this. I was just got done eating supper. It was latter part of 7 o'clock that evening. Um, Anyway, I get a phone call from my seller, and he is irate, mad to the bone. And I was like, what is going on? He's like, nobody called me about the showing this evening. I was like, what showing? Well, the realtor is just here. I said, man, there's no showing tonight. Because luckily, I had looked at the logbook for that property before calling it quits that day. So there's no showing today. Oh, yes, there was. She was just here. I said, man, next phone call is the cops. He said, why? I said, that wasn't a real estate agent. Well, she was dressed like one. Skirt, high heels, badge, a little name badge. And we were talking about this a few days later. He pointed to his chest, and there's no showing. And I said, let me guess, no buyer showed up. Yeah, how'd you know that? He said. I said, they were scoping your property. He said, say what? For real. This scammer, fraudulent criminal, had portrayed herself as a real estate professional or a realtor, went and door knocked. That's pretty easy to do. Like, you're on realtor.com, you're on Zillow.com, you're on 150 other different websites. You're for sale. Well, gosh, I got a picture of your house. I got the address. With the mapping services the way they are on the internet anymore, all I got to do is boom, tap that, map it. I'm on my way. Tells me how long it's going to take me to get there. I'm to your house. She's door knocking. Says, hey, he went through the whole thing with me. She announced herself, give him a name, and said, I'm with so-and-so real estate company, and I'm here to show my buyer your house. And he's like, well, of course, he didn't know any showings because we had never contacted him. And she's like, well, buyer's on his way right now. Are you going to stay here or are you going to leave? And of course, it was the intimidation factor, right? Like, most times, a lot of the times, the seller leaves to make the interaction with the buyer inside the property less confrontational and kind of lessen the nerves of the buyer, And, thankfully he said, well, I'm not aware of any showings tonight or today, and I probably should call my realtor. And I guess she got pretty pushy about the deal. All of which he let her inside, unfortunately. And that's when he called me. One, he was in a panic. Two, she caught him off guard, which caught me off guard. And so those are tense moments, right? And anyway, before we got off the phone, she was gone. I'm like, man, you need license plate numbers. You need to know what that car was, the color, the make, whatever. Like, we live in rural USA. It's not that hard to maybe find that car. She was in and out so fast that he didn't even have a chance. So anyway, the point of this story is that could happen to any one of us anytime. And when the sign goes in the yard, when you go up for sale, and as a realtor, I got several tools in my toolbox I'm going to be using to broadcast your property for sale. Unfortunately, these fraudulent people also use them same venues to see if they're going to be attracted to you or not. And of course, we do lots of exterior and interior photos of properties, and we ask that you clean things up and don't leave items of value out for the pictures. But that's where these people come in. They start gauging about, hey, that's really nice furniture. They got really good taste. Or the artwork on the wall is pretty nice. I wonder what else they got in the house. They start thinking these people are smart. And that's what happened to this fella. And he went ahead and filed a police report, and we got that curbed before anything happened. But anytime, you got to be watchful of these situations. So, I try to have these conversations with sellers up front now. That was a big turning point in my career. But like I said, I'm not perfect. I may miss that opportunity to have that conversation with any seller any day because we get distracted and we get down different rabbit holes with different conversations. And every seller is different. Everybody has different expectations they bring to the table. They have different experiences that they bring to the table. There's a lot to head off up front to make sure we're going to have a smooth process moving forward. So I'm just going to lay that out there. I'm human, just like anybody else. I sometimes miss that conversation even today, but I'm going to put it out there in our series of scams in our meetings here, and I'm going to post these on YouTube. I think there's a lot of merit. You got to sit back and take responsibility for everything that goes on around you. You can't take responsibility for somebody approaching you, obviously, but you can take responsibility on how you're going to handle a scenario like that or similar to that if it presents itself. So, how would you prevent something from happening, or um, how do you control that situation as it happened to that seller? So let's jump into that. One easiest thing to kind of de-escalate and knock them back on their heels and get them out the door, and don't even let them in, is say, you know what? That's my real estate agent out there. If you'd like to see the property, contact them and set up an appointment. You can come back with them. We are trained on how to handle people inside your properties, inside your homes, your buildings, whatever. We're not just there to show them all the features of the property. We're there to make sure that they're not pickpocketing or stealing drugs. Which leads me into another experience that happened here locally. Before my experience in 2016, a couple of years before that, there was a sting that was done because people for sale or sellers were noticing that prescription drugs were disappearing out from their homes. Come to find out, it was a home inspector, a trusted real estate professional in the industry, had an addiction to prescription drugs. The police department ran a sting, caught him red-handed. Obviously went to jail for that. But as realtors, we're trained, and we get beat on this every year. You're not just there to talk about the features of the property. You're there to make sure nobody's got sticky fingers. And there's ways that we do that. I'm not going to jump into that today, but we're not just there to be in the room with you as a buyer. We're not there to be in a room with you to engage in conversation or to know what you like or dislike. I much really don't care what you like or dislike, but a lot of times it's just to make sure that we're leaving the place the way we found it. Plain and simple. Leaving the things there that we found, make sure that they stay there. So anyway, to prevent that situation from even getting any further down the road, just ask them, hey, I need your contact information, your name, your phone number. I'll have Jason get a hold of you, and you can schedule time to come back. Or if you got a real estate agent, they can contact Jason or XYZ real estate company, or whoever the parties are involved. They can get in contact, and they can contact me, because when I'm working with sellers, we have a series of events that have to happen for a showing to happen. Contact has to be made through us. We contact the seller. We verify the time and the day. If it doesn't work, then we go back down the pipeline and try to figure out something that's going to work for the buyer and the seller. And the reason we do that is not that we care to be event planners. It's to protect our sellers and honestly kind of protect the buyers too, to make sure nothing, they don't get wrongfully accused of something, right? Number two, most times there's a family involved. It's not just a single person living in the house or responsible for the property. So have a conversation with your family. If it's a commercial property or industrial property, have a conversation with your employees and all the workers. Let them know that, hey, we're for sale. You don't have to disclose, if it's your employees, you don't have to disclose why. Just say, hey, we're for sale. If somebody comes up here wanting to look at the property, if they're not with a realtor, or they're not, here's our plans, this person has to be present for the showings, then they don't get to come in and see our business, period. You do not say yes. You're not doing me a favor by letting them come in during business hours and disrupting your work. As a family, especially children, it's pretty easy for children to be intimidated, let alone some adults. Have the conversation. Do not let them through the door. If you feel really uncomfortable, you need to close the door and lock it. Don't even worry about it. And call somebody call me, the parent, or call the cops or whatever. Whatever situation you guys want to talk about, you're going to talk about it. Or you have the conversation again. Get their information. We're going to pass it along to Jason. Simple as that. And lastly, don't try to do it alone. If you do not know who just door knocked, don't let them in. You're letting a stranger in your home. You're letting them into your property. They're trespassing at best. If they don't have your permission coming into that engagement to be on your property, they're simply trespassing, right? So don't try to do it alone. Be like, we got to have this conversation with you. How do showings work on your property? What are your expectations as a seller? Now maybe you're not living at the property anymore and it's vacant, right? So a lot of times in my world, to set up showings, we call it a show and go. Somebody calls, we verify that nobody else is going to be there, boom, we go. But if you're living in the property or you're working in the property, that's a whole different ball of wax. Nobody, and I mean nobody, should be showing up in surprise. The other easy one that I've seen buyers use is, and sometimes they're trying to scope you out and steal from you, and other times they're legitimate. I mean, it falls on both sides of the highway here. Is, hey, I'm from out of town. I've been driving the area and I've seen the sign here, and I just real quick I want to get in and take a look at it before I got to get back on the road. And I've heard that story 100 times. They don't have a real estate agent locally that they're dealing with, but they're moving to the area, or they present themselves as moving to the area. And one easy way to check that is to look at their license plates real quick. Are they from in county or out of county, in state, out of state, whatever. They could be legitimate, they could be not. Back to the how do you prevent something from really happening? There's a number on the sign. Call them. It's posted for sale on the web. Get on the website and look it up. There's pictures. Maybe there's not pictures because of privacy issues. And again, all the more reason to have an appointment, right? So that I've seen that one liner too, not the like the experience I shared with you in 2016 about hey, I'm a realtor and I'm here to show a buyer. It was, hey, I'm from out of town and I was driving the area. I really like this area. I see that you're for sale. Instead of bothering the realtors, can you want to just show me around real quick? Dangerous move. And I'll say this, especially dangerous for women, but it could be dangerous for any gender, however you identify these days. Maybe somebody's there for the wrong reasons, period. You don't know anybody from anybody unless you've nurtured a relationship with them over time and got to know them. You just don't know. So be mindful of that. Like I said, this story, I stumbled across it as an old email. I mean, that thing's 7 years old now. I think maybe I held on to it for this series that I'm putting together for y'all in these meetings that we're doing. So anyway, I probably missed something here, and I'm sure some of you may have had experiences like this or something similar. Drop them in the comments. I'd like to hear what that was or what you did to prevent it, what you maybe said or did, or somebody that happened to. Anyway, throw it in the comments down below. Anyway, if you know anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate, keep us in mind. We're always, obviously this is what we do for a living. Doing the videos doesn't pay the bills, but buying and selling does. So anyway, keep us in mind there. If you like what you see, if you're new, get the notifications, subscribe, whatever, toot the horn. get in contact with us, send us a message, whatever. And if you got something that you think we're missing here, especially in this series of scams, if you think we're missing something here, I'd like to hear about that too, to be included here, because our intent is to have this for our customers and the public to really relate to and tap into as a good resource to be vigilant and you know, make sure you're not being taken advantage of. So anyway, catch you on the next video.